All right, we're back. Welcome to week 4 of DCL. This is going to be a really good game against a really good friend, Zombie, who is someone who the last time I played him was early Gen 8 in like 2020, maybe even like 2019. And then before then was like Gen 7 Wi-Fi when it was like Gen 7 is the most contemporary gen. So um, it's been a hot minute since I played Zombie. I was looking through the old cataloged YouTube videos on my channel that are not publicly accessible anymore, where I've faced Zombie before, and I ended up finding out that the last time I played Zombie was in early Gen 8 Dynamax League, which is crazy, and then before then it was Sun and Moon on cartridge. So who is Zombie, and how did we get here, and what's going on? Because there's a lot of things I need to catch everyone up on before I show you all what happened to this game. So catch-up thing number 1 is mids. We had mids, right? Which means that we had a week off. That doesn't mean that everyone was just on break. No games were happening, but transactions were happening. And you've seen our SS1, that's our Galarian Germanitan Kartana team. You've seen our SS3, which is our Weavile Landorus Therian team, which I brought week 1. But our SS2 team wasn't very good. I didn't like it very much. I figured there was never a scenario where I was ever bringing it. So I wanted to completely overhaul it and make something new. And originally we were thinking about rain. Rain was kind of cool of an idea. But we actually ended up going sand instead because we thought it would be kind of an interesting mode that matched up well into our last couple opponents. So I won't say which ones in particular, but I just thought it looks quite nice. So yes, sand is what we're doing. So we have the 6 bonds you see on your screen right now in Torn and Rotom, which stayed from the previous team. Lottie, Mienshao, Tyranitar, as obviously the sand setter, and then Doublade. And then Eldegoss is benched, as well as Excadrill, obviously, the sand abuser. So that's what we had on this team. And we made those changes, and that was what we did to the SS team. We also put a Magneton on the Landorus Therian team and a Girder on the Galarian Germanitan team. So you might see those changes in future weeks as well. Anyway, so that's transactions. Most of the time, I was figuring the transactions out, but I was also flat searching. That's kind of been my life these last 2 weeks, and potentially for a few weeks into the future is trying to find a place to move into, because I only have a month left in this place, and my partner and I want to move in together, so that's what is happening there. Any other kind of updates? Not really, I don't think so. We're playing Zombie. Let's talk about who Zombie is. So Zombie is someone who last time I played him was in 2020, which is crazy. I was a very different person back then. I was far less beautiful. And that was in early Generation 8, when we were still toying with Dynamax, which is crazy. And then right before then was Gen 7 Wi-Fi was the time I played Zombie before then, which was on cartridge when Gen 7 was the most contemporary generation. So it has been a long time since Zombie and I played, and we sort of came from the same starting leagues, if that makes sense, casual leagues. So it's cool that many years down the line we now end up meeting in this high stakes environment with us both, developed as players. The stakes are especially high for this game as well, because Zombie and I both are undefeated. Zombie didn't play week 1, so he's 2-0, and I'm 3-0, obviously, in terms of our personal records. So the winner sort of, continues to be sort of the Sword and Shield MVP of the season so far, or at least, maintains that #1 spot. And then, additionally, the score, typically I play my games quite early, so I'm usually one of the first or second games that my team has in a game of 8 series, in a best of 8 series. So usually I'm game 1 or game 2. I think the past 3 weeks I was either game 1 or game 2, but this time I was game 6, and the score was 3-2 in favor of them, the Walkers, who we were playing this week. So if I lost this, I would lose the week for my team, and if I won it, I would tie it up, and it means that we would have to win our last 2 games after the one that I play. So there's a world in which we could tie as well. But if I lose this game, it means that the best we walk out of here with is a tie, which isn't ideal because our team isn't, you know, we're in the middle of the pack, so we want to win this week. And it's really crucial that we win the rest of the season because the playoff race is so tight and every game matters, and there's no greater example of how every game matters than this one, because Jesus Christ, like, if I lose this game, we don't win the week, which is crazy. So stakes were high, arguably some of the highest stakes on paper that we've had all season, that I've had all season in terms of me playing. So really scary. But let's talk about the matchup. So as you can see, 6 mons that I brought, I benched Excadrill and I benched Eldegoss, and then he benched Blacephalon and benched not Eldegoss, Blossom. Blossom actually was giving me some trouble in mocks, so I was very happy not to see it. Obviously, it's really scary just in the sense that, like, it can set up a Quiver Dance on Rotom, and then, you know, if Torn is chipped down enough, you know, Moonblast plus Grass Move could be kind of scary. So I was very happy not to see Blossom. Blacephalon was kind of hit or miss, right? Blacephalon's kind of hard-walled by Tyranitar, but it's a Blacephalon, right? So there is always a question of, is it going to come or not? I kind of expected that, you know, the 5 mons that would definitely come would be Tornadus, Crocodile. Crocodile probably is the strongest offensive mon to me, because I don't have a Fairy type on this team, so knockoff is quite free. Corviknight is necessary to bring because I have an Excadrill, and Corviknight's obviously so good against Excadrill that I didn't even bring Excadrill. Galarian Slowking and Lantern, I think, were pretty obvious brings. Lantern is obviously there for Rotom as well. Just hard stops Rotom from Volt switching and stuff. And then it was a question of, okay, will it be Blacephalon or Diancie? And in this case, it was Diancie. So what was the plan going into this game? Well, obviously, this is kind of a fatter team, so we want to be able to really try and smoke the defense with some offense, and that's what we're looking to do. So the Tornadus is not an offensive set, it's a very defensive set. It's a very specially defensive set with, you know, U-turn, relatively slow on this Tornadus so that I can get the slower U-turn against his Tornadus, but obviously faster than things like Crocodile. So yeah, kind of just a knock U-turn support Tornadus. And then we have a Rotom Wash. This Rotom Wash is really interesting. It's a Spadef substitute Rotom Wash with Hydro Pump, Nasty Plot, and Stored Power. A +3 Stored Power guaranteed to it KO's Lantern. And behind the substitute, I should be able to take, obviously, Toxic, but also Volt Switch from the Lantern as well. So when Lantern comes in on Rotom, I can click Substitute and start clicking Nasty Plot, and there's nothing Lantern can do to break my sub. I have enough Spadef for uninvested T-Bolt to never break my sub as well from Lantern. So hopefully that ends up working out. I low-key stole the set off of Matthew, formerly Dr. Slacking, who is a Wi-Fi player, who is a very close friend of mine, and he ran this set in a Wi-Fi league back in Gen 8, and it didn't work at the time, but I remember looking at it and being like, oh, that's really cool. So that was my inspiration for this. And then Latias. Latias is really interesting here. Latias could have had a good offensive matchup. I actually think it did have a good offensive matchup, but we're Screens plus Healing Wish with Light Clay. You know, max speed, max HP. Mienshao is max HP, max physical defense. Like I said, Crocodile is a really, really strong offensive matchup into me, and I was really struggling switching into it, especially when I had Excadrill on this team or Eldegoss on this team instead of Mienshao. So switching to Knockoff was a nightmare, and I ended up finding out that Regenerator Mienshao with Rocky Helmet is really good to deal with Crocodile offensively, because if I'm max HP, max physical defense, Earthquake should usually not 2-hit KO me unless it's max attack Adamant. But even if it does, you know, Earthquake me, I can pivot into Torn and be immune to the EQ and then pivot back into Mienshao and kind of like, you know, Regenerator shenanigans with it. And then what else? What else we have is a Tyranitar. Now this Tyranitar I'm going to talk about last, but it's my pride and joy. This is my favorite set I've made this entire season so far, so I'll come back to it in a second. And then Doublade is just Shadow Sneak. Just cleaning, ideally, with Shadow Sneak. That's pretty much all I'll say about it. But yeah, just bulky, Eviolite, Shadow Sneak, Sword Stance, obviously. Just trying to clean up the game as well. So, Rotom is kind of the breaker, and then if we can clean up with like Sword Stance, Shadow Sneak, Doublade, that's pretty cool. Anyway, that's the other reason why Rocky Helmet's so nice on Mienshao, right? Because you Rocky Helmet down, when it hits you with knockoff or something. That's pretty good. And then the other way I'm going to chip down Crocodile for Mienshao is with this Tyranitar. Crazy, right? So I'm going to show you this Tyranitar. It's a demon set. It's an absolute demon set. This is the set. Max HP, 80 attack, 60 in defense with a lax nature. How many times have you seen a lax nature in Mons? I don't know. Now, typically when EVing, the rule of thumb is to, put the plus in the highest stat and the minus in the lowest stat. But in this case, I needed to hit these exact stat points. So even though this is the lowest stat, putting a minus here meant that I would have to use more EVs to get to the stat that I would need. And I didn't need to be, higher SPDF than this. Same goes here for attack. I didn't need to be higher attack than this. And if I was to just do like, say I did 140 in defense and then plus nature and attack, yeah, I'd have more attack. And, but I'd be lacking in the defense. And this defense was more important than this attack. So in this case, a lot of like standard EV rules didn't end up applying, which is really interesting. Anyway, very interesting set. So I'm going to explain it, obviously. So this is a dedicated lead. If Blacephalon was to show up, obviously I need to hold on to Tyranitar a little bit so it can switch into Blacephalon. So if Tyranitar led and Crocodile led, I would switch out Tyranitar. That's the only instance I would ever switch out Tyranitar. If Crocodile led and if Blacephalon was in the back, and in this case Blacephalon wasn't in the back. So with this team preview that Zombie brought against me, I was always leading Tyranitar and staying in with it turn 1. Through Mox, I did not think that Tyranitar would be carrying close combat. Even if it did, I wouldn't think it would ever click at turn 1. So even in that instance, I'm planning on staying in with Tyranitar and just clicking Ice Beam, which is going to do about 45% if Crocodile chooses to Earthquake me and trigger my weakness policy, which I'm EV'd to guaranteed live for max attack Adamant, and then still simultaneously switch in one more time after Rocks after taking that Earthquake. Then Ice Beam will put it into range of Shadow Sneak Doublade, which is great. So it does about 90%, and then Shadow Sneak obviously does like 10. So that's awesome. Also puts it in range of obviously like Helmet Mienshao, which could like just clean KO it. So either way. Now Ice Beam as well is a really strong move to click into Tornadus, because if Tornadus clicks U-turn, obviously my weakness policy gets triggered, and if he sees weakness policy Tyranitar and thinks Stone Edge is coming off, he can't really go into Corviknight here because Corviknight gets to get KO'd. So he can get greedy and say, okay, well, I'm going to switch into Crocodile on what I assume is going to be a Stone Edge or a Crunch and Intimidate and be fine, but actually, no, I can Ice Beam the Crocodile coming in after Tornadus U-turns on me, and that will obviously either kill the Crocodile or do a ton of damage, but it also punishes the Torn if it tries to stay in for some reason. Other reason why Ice Beam is better than Crunch or Stone Edge is because Ice Beam, after weakness policy is procced, Ice Beam into Fire Blast KOs bulky Corviknight, even with some SPDF investment. That's what the special attack here is meant to do. It's guaranteed to KO the Corviknight that I expect to come with Ice Beam plus Fire Blast. Ice Beam plus Flamethrower wasn't doing it. Had to be Ice Beam plus Fire Blast. 80 attack is meant to KO basically a form of defensive Diancie that I think could come, or just max HP with like Body Press. The defense also guarantees that I live a Body Press from full. Body Press does 99.6 maximum. So if there is for some reason some kind of speedy Diancie with Body Press, or it's Berry Diancie with Body Press, I should be able to live the hit. Yeah, what else? The reason I'm 4 in SPDF is not just to look cool and be like all 6 EVs. It's so I can live a +2 Moonblast from weakness policy like Diancie. if I end up, proccing weakness policy with something, or if it's... is it +2? It might be post-Meteor Beam Diancie. I'm not entirely sure. I don't remember anymore. Either way, there's a reason this 4 exists. I promise. And then what else? What else am I missing? I want to be able to take the Earthquake from Crook. Body Press from Corviknight never KOs me as well with this defense investment. I guess that's it. It's mostly the Diancie and Corviknight Calcs. Superpower from Tornadus, same deal, never die. So if for some reason I lead Tyranitar and he leads Torn, I expect him to hard switch or click U-turn, which would be amazing for me. But if he for some reason clicks Superpower, not fearing me to be Scarf or Choppleberry or anything like that, I still live that Superpower and can do a ton of damage back with Ice Beam. Now let's talk about the moves I chose on this set, because I just like this set a lot. This is technically a Blacephalon check, right? But I'm choosing not to run any moves that hit Blacephalon, right? Well, Heavy Slam does about 30% to Blacephalon, which doesn't sound like a lot, but bear in mind as well that Blacephalon has to take Sandstorm Chip, likely Sandstorm Chip twice, but I only accounted for 1 round of Sandstorm Chip just to be safe. So ultimately, Heavy Slam plus 1 round of Sandstorm Chip puts it in range of my Doublade Shadow Sneak or Tornadus' knockoff, obviously, and that's what this attack is also important for as well. So a bunch of things quite important. Can't touch Lantern, but I'm absolutely fine with not touching Lantern because I feel like I'm going to be able to bait it with Rotom Wash anyway. Also, there's a bit of a psychology going on here, right? Generally, you don't switch your Galarian Slowking into Tyranitar, and I don't expect all of these moves to be revealed, at least not in the early game, so he has to fear Crunch or Earthquake. And for that reason, I don't really expect him to ever go into Slowking or Lantern, because why would you? Like, you don't know what my Tyranitar's moves are. So I'm kind of making some hard calls and saying, okay, I think the switch-ins are going to be Crocodile or Corviknight. I'm just going to run perfect coverage for those mons and not worry about the mons that I think are definitely not going to be switching in. And it's a bold move to do that, obviously, but it's also quite safe. Like, if you do enough mocks, you understand how these sequences go, and you find out that, like, yeah, no one's ever switching Galarian Slowking into a Tyranitar when those moves aren't revealed, so why would you run Crunch's coverage? You just wouldn't. So, yeah. Anyway, that's my Tyranitar rant. It's going to make this video extra long, but that's fine. Anyway, let's talk about the matchup itself. Obviously, like here, there's no Blacephalon, which means the plan is to lead Tyranitar. Let's do it. I'm going to take a sip of water before we get into the replay because I just talked about Tyranitar a lot. But it's quite good. It's good. It's good. I like it. Okay. Lead Tyranitar. Lead Tornadus is fine. Worst case scenario lead was Crocodile because it did mean I would have to like risk CC, which I didn't think was going to be clicked, but it's still scary nonetheless. Now obviously there's the chance that Tornadus runs Superpower, but it's also important to keep in mind for every move that Tornadus reveals that isn't Heat Wave is proof to me that it's not Heat Wave, which means it can slowly become Doublade fodder if it doesn't reveal Heat Wave, right? Because if it's not Heat Wave, then Doublade's fodder. It's fodder for Doublade to just start clicking SD on it. So what are some moves that it definitely has to have? It has to have U-turn, and it has to have knockoff. Those are 2 moves that make sense for this matchup for sure. Probably is Hurricane, right? Because it has to be able to hit me and Xiao. It doesn't be hard-walled by me and Xiao. Or like Eldegoss for that matter. Also wants to be able to do some damage to Tornadus. So if it reveals a move that isn't U-turn, knockoff, or Hurricane, I feel pretty confident that it's Doublade fodder, that it won't have Heat Wave. So if Tornadus clicks Superpower here, Tyranitar will live. I might not kill back with Ice Beam, but to me that's still a valuable exchange because it gives me that information that Tornadus probably is not Heat Wave. It's probably never going to be Heat Wave plus Superpower because then it's missing out on something quite important. So yeah, that's my thought process. So I stay in, and he's just going to hard out, which makes a lot of sense, right? Because this is screaming weakness policy. We're not going to, I'm not going to pretend like this is a big surprise here. Like, he might know that it's weakness policy. So he just goes into Corviknight as I go for the Ice Beam, hoping that I could catch the Crocodile. I obviously don't. I catch the Corviknight, but that's absolutely fine because it gives me information that this Corviknight is just max HP, max defense, The crit is obviously unfortunate, but, you know, it's whatever. It's a Corviknight. It's going to heal off, whatever. Also reveals to me that it's not Leftovers. Through Mox, that makes me pretty convinced that it's Helmet, because those were the two sets that I was seeing on Corviknight. So, yeah. Now, obviously, I could just Fire Blast here and call him to hard U-turn. But I feel like I can get more value out of Tyranitar later. Obviously, if he U-turns, I burn the weakness policy. And I feel like I can get more chip on Corviknight later. I obviously want to also start thinking still about getting my rocks up. I don't think this is the time for that. So I'm just going to go into Mienshao, which seems like a crazy switch in. But Corviknight's never clicking Brave Bird there, obviously, right? So Body Press or U-turn, either way, I'm getting Helmet chip off on this Corviknight. And then Tornadus comes in here. My switch in to Zombie's Tornadus is my own Tornadus, again, because I'm very specially defensive, I'm very bulky, and I am a slow pivot. So I'm just going to do just that. Yes, my boots get knocked off, but I can just slow pivot out here, give myself momentum again, and go right back into Tyranitar. Now this is interesting, because he's now seen that in this same circumstance, I click Ice Beam. So I think it's far less likely that he ever goes into Crocodile this turn. I think he definitely U-turns into Corviknight, or just goes hard Corviknight, in order to like bring Crocodile in. I've sort of caught him in this cycle with the slow U-turn on Tornadus, which is amazing for me. But yeah, now's the time to click Rocks, in my opinion, because he will never U-turn into Crocodile. Hell, I don't even think he's ever going to go hard Crocodile here, because Crocodile is so important. And if he's not CC on Crocodile, then he knows he doesn't even kill Tyranitar, so why would he ever go Crocodile in the first place? He's definitely going Corviknight, because like I said in the Tyranitar rant, if you missed it, yeah, I'm Ice, Fire, Steel. That doesn't hit Lantern, that doesn't hit Slowking, but only Ice Beam's revealed. They're never going into Slowking or Lantern when they know that I could be at any of my stabs still. So, yes. The idea here will be, I think Corviknight's coming in. I'm going to click my Rocks. And to my surprise, he actually U-turns here, which he didn't do before, and procs my weakness policy. Now that's absolutely fine, because it means I got my Rocks up, and the benefit to this now as well is that I can outspeed and just kill with Fire Blast. Amazing. Corviknight's dead. This was a huge stopgap to Mienshao, and mainly Doublade as well. Obviously, Doublade kind of hard walls Corviknight, so who knows? But also simultaneously, like, not having Corviknight exist, not allowing him that slow momentum, it's pretty good. So Crocodile's going to come in here. Obviously, I died to Earthquake. So I'm just going to pivot out into my dedicated check. It's Mienshao, and Earthquake's going to come off. It's going to reveal it to do 42%. And something very interesting about this Crocodile is it's Moxie. It's Moxie Crocodile, which is interesting because I really only saw Intimidate in Mox. So Moxie is kind of screaming Scarf, I imagine. But it doesn't really matter because I take under half from Earthquake. He has to crit me in order to kill me here, and he can't really risk this Crocodile. It's his main source of offense. So U-turn is unbelievably free here. And I could just click U-turn into Rotom Wash. Rotom Wash gets knocked off here. I was not expecting knockoff. I was expecting U-turn into Lantern, because to me, risking your Tornadus is crazy. Even risking it getting like paralyzed is pretty crazy. So it's a pretty hard call by Zombie that I can definitely respect here to click knockoff. Fortunately, I don't really care because I can still click Nasty Flat. And in a way, this is kind of worse for him because yes, my leftovers are gone, but now I get a free substitute in front of this Lantern. After I click my third Nasty Flat, or my second Nasty Flat rather, now I get to click substitute. He can't break me with Volt Switch, and he has to go into Torn again. Yes, he can U-turn, but I'm getting a bunch of damage off now at this point. So he cannot go into Crocodile, obviously, so I feel like stored power is pretty safe here. It does a ton to Tornadus. And again, to go back to what I was saying earlier about Tornadus' moveset, when Tornadus revealed Toxic against my previous Tornadus, it confirmed to me that, you know, assuming this thing's last move is Hurricane, Doublade's going to kind of sit on it, but it also means that Rotom behind a sub is going to sit on it as well. So no Focus Blast or anything means that like this Torn is going to struggle to break the sub as well. If it's not U-turn pivoting between itself and Lantern. So to me, I want to get rid of that ability right away of him to cycle between Volt Switch and U-turn. I just want to attack what's in front of me, try and kill one of those two guys. Doing that is by clicking stored power. So I click stored power right here to lantern, and it kills. Obviously, it gets a crit. It wouldn't have killed, but it would have done, you know, like 70-something%. So, like, I imagine he would have just stayed in. And if he didn't, then it would have been a 1% lantern. That would have done nothing. So I feel absolutely fine about that. Tornadus is going to come back in again on the U-turn, and I'm going to click Hydro Pump, now thinking that it's free, and I miss my Hydro Pump. Now, that's really sad because obviously that would have done a ridiculous amount of damage. I would have been able to store power right afterwards. He would have had to make a hard call on a Crocodile to stop that. So missing the Hydro Pump definitely sucks. Especially sucks because I don't know what this set is. And if this thing is like AV Slowking, I don't kill here and I die to Sludge Bomb. I'm looking at this team and I'm saying to myself, you know what? Rotom looks really good. I can still Hydro Pump the Diancie. If I get a screen up, I can sub up on the Slowking. I like being able to be immune to Earthquake from Crocodile. And like it's not like Scarf Knockoff is doing much to Rotom anyway either, since my leftovers are gone. And then obviously, Tornadus can't break my sub if I manage to get a sub behind something like Slowking. So even though my Rotom is quite low, my thought process is, if I can get it back to full with the Healing Wish, Latias, then it's going to do some more. So I'm going to do that right now. I'm just going to go right into Latias. I'm going to be like, let's just do it again, right? Let's rinse and repeat. So he gets the Sludge Bomb Poison. I'm going to click Light Screen here as he goes for Sludge Bomb again. And I could go for another screen here to try and, like, you know, do less damage to Crocodile, or make sure Crocodile does less damage to me, or make sure, you know, Torn's Knockoff and U-turn does less damage to me. But I kind of want to just hold on to as many light screen turns as possible by giving myself the momentum right now. So I'm just going to Healing Wish right now. I'm just going to do it right now. I'm going to click Healing Wish and go into my Rotom Wash, get the Healing Wish right back up, and click Substitute, because obviously Crocodile can only choose one move click. No matter what it clicked, I'd be able to substitute, and then click Hydro Pump right after if you did choose to stay in the first place. And if you switch, then obviously, like I said, I'm behind a substitute. So I sub, as he goes Rotom, or as he goes Tornadus rather, clicks U-turn. Now I get to click Nasty Plot, and I get to try it again. And like I said, the great thing about this screen is that Sludge Bomb is not even breaking my substitute behind the screen. It might break this one, obviously, because Tornadus did that damage, but I can just sub again. And this is why, you know, Healing Wishing right away was crucial rather than like wasting any more turns setting up another screen, because I would have had less screen turns to do this. Missing the Hydro Pump sucks again. It really fucking sucks. But at least, you know, I have the means to, you know, get another sub up. I end up finding out through this damage that the earlier Hydro Pump would have killed anyway, but I still think, you know, this was the right play. Sludge Bomb breaks the sub. I just go for a sub again. With my one turn of light screen left, I wouldn't have been able to do this if I clicked a different screen on that, you know, turn. I clicked Healing Wish. I'm just going to click Hydro Pump again. I missed. This is the most blind run of all time. I've only landed one Hydro Pump out of 4. But it's fine, because obviously the sub allots me a couple more opportunities to try it. I missed the Hydro Pump again, and holy shit, like, now I'm in a situation where it's like, okay, now I've missed 2 Hydro Pumps. I really need to land this one, Rotom. I really do. Because otherwise, you know, I haven't made any progress from where I made before. So I click Hydro Pump again, and thankfully that one lands, and now we're back into Crocodile. Crocodile has to click a dark move, so I'm gonna preserve Rotom here, and that's great because I still have my helmet, and Lariat's gonna put more damage on Crook. I get to U-turn again. It's very free. Go into my Tyranitar here. Now going into Tyranitar is awesome because I'm Ice Beam, Stealth Rock, Fire Blast. He might think that I'm Crunch or Earthquake as a way to hit the Glow King, since he sees that I can't be Ice Beam, Fire Blast. I imagine he thinks I'm Earthquake actually, because on paper it hits the 3 mons that Ice and Fire don't hit, right? So I bet he thinks I'm Earthquake, but I'm Heavy Slam. I've thought one step ahead here. So he is going to U-turn on my Tyranitar. Makes sense. I'm just going to click Ice Beam. And I don't know what this Diancie was. It could have been Weakness Policy, Trick Room, or Weakness Policy, you know, Rock Polish, or whatever. Clearly, this is Zombie's last ditch effort to get back into the game. I think he is thinking that I could very much be Earthquake here, trigger weakness policy, or just, you know, be setup fodder for this Diancie in some kind of meaningful way. But I'm Heavy Slam. So I end up revealing all 4 moves, end up revealing that I was not able to touch Blacephalon, not able to touch Lantern, not able to touch Glow King. But he didn't know that, right? So it ended up being fine. Tyranitar is just going to sit. It's going to be a fat bastard that spams Ice Beam. And even in this situation here, I'm like, okay, should I switch out? Because there's this like weird little thing where it's like, okay, if you know, if Tornadus like clicks Toxic here, you know, I kill the Tornadus and then I give Crocodile a Moxie boost, like, am I fucked? I don't think so. So I'm just gonna click Ice Beam. Like, I thought about it. I thought maybe about switching out just to prevent this situation from happening, but I don't think +1 Crocodile can lock into any one move versus me and Xiao plus Tornadus. Just don't think so, especially with Doublade there as well. So I'm just gonna stay in, click Ice Beam. He actually clicks U-turn, and I live because I'm very defensive. And that's gonna be great because it's gonna do that extra damage to Crocodile, and I can go into my Mian Xiao, which I know lives any one hit, click U-turn safely, and then go into my Doublade. And I was obviously very right that this Tornadus was not able to hit Doublade, and that means I can safely go for Iron Head and win the game. So another really strong victory for me. But also a very important victory because it ended up being the case that not only did I win the game and tie the series 3-3 with the Walkers, but my last 2 teammates who had to play their games in Robin, who's one of our VGC players, as well as Undead, who's our Usum player, they both won. So we ended up winning the week 5-3, which means we're 2-2 now, and that's great. And if I hadn't won this one, we couldn't have won the week. So it was nice to get back in the win column and be the first person to really jumpstart that wave for us to end up winning. So yeah, it just felt really good. And I really enjoyed this game. I enjoyed this team. I liked the Tyranitar build a lot. I think I liked the EVs. I liked the set. I liked the move choices. I liked the mind games behind it. I liked the fact that it was a really strong, dedicated lead. And I really liked the Rotom as well. Like, I really liked how the Rotom was designed to beat the Lantern. Everything else worked great. I think the Helmet Mian Xiao really stopped his own offense. Doublade was a great win con in the back in case I needed it. And then the screens obviously were massive as well. So that's week 4. Hopefully you enjoyed this one. Obviously, I've been enjoying the season a lot so far. Not just because I've been winning, but just because like I feel like I'm learning a lot, and I feel like I'm really like at the start of this week I did not feel good about this build. I did not feel good about an Excadrill team into a Corviknight team, obviously. But I got really creative with the way that I would build and play and think about the matchup, and it paid off. And I think doing that consistently is making me even better at the game than I was at the start of the season, which makes me feel good. So really happy with this one. This is definitely the build I'm most proud of myself for. I think I'm very proud of this build, that I really pulled it through. And I say this with no disrespect to Zombie. Like, I literally didn't have to think much this game because the build was so good. I just kind of knew what my sequences were, and it worked out. So yeah. Anyway, week 5, we play the Nimble Nightclub, and I'm playing PZZ that week, which is obviously this week, the week that I'm recording it. But he's a very good player. He's having a very good season, so look forward to that. We're using this team again next week, so look forward to that as well. Maybe you'll see some similar stuff. Maybe you'll see some different stuff. You never know. So yeah, voila. That's it. That's the game. See you all next week. Bye-bye.